everyone and welcome back to my channel. As I mentioned in my last video where I did a general comparison between Tromsø and the Finnish Lapland, in this video I want to talk about the differences of the tours and activities that we did in Tromsø and in Lapland. Unfortunately, I cannot compare the price because in Tromsø I paid for every single activity separately, while in Lapland I basically bought a package with all activities included, so I don't have a breakdown of the single activities. The activities or tours that I will compare are Husky sledding, reindeer sledding, snowmobiling, nature-related activities, and the Northern Lights tour. While in Tromsø we did the activities with different agencies or like companies that organize these activities, in the Finnish Lapland we did all activities at Lämmintupa, which is a company that has reindeer sledding, Husky sledding, snowmobiling, so everything was organized there. Let's start with the Husky sledding. In Tromsø we did the Husky sledding activity at the Villmark Center. I went there both times and I love that place. There you can choose between either driving your own sled or having a professional guide drive it for you. Both times we decided to have a professional guide to drive our sled, and I think that was the best decision because we could fully enjoy just the activity and the landscape around us. If you book the activity with Villmark Center, a big bus will come to pick you up. You will arrive there, you will get the suits and the boots, then you will go to say hi to the dogs, go to your sled, either you drive it by yourself or you have a guide drive it for you, and then I think the activity lasts about, I would say, 50 minutes probably. It's kind of a hill area, so you go up and down these hills, you have the view of the fjord of Tromsø. In general, it was a really nice experience. I loved it. After the sledding, you say hi to the dogs. If they have puppies, then you can also say hi to the puppies, and then there is always lunch included, which normally it is reindeer soup or some kind of vegetarian dish, and then you have cake and coffee and drinks included, of course. When we did the Husky sledding in the Finnish Lapland, we went to Lämmintupa, and there the only possibility you have is to drive your own sled. If you really don't want to drive it, you can ask to go with someone else, of course, but in general, driving your own sled is the only possibility. When we arrived at the camp, we were divided into two groups. Our group at first a little snack with warm drinks, and then like there were some sausages or sandwiches that you could warm up at the fire, and then it started our sledding activity. My sister drove, I was in the sled, and I must say that the route is more beautiful than the one in Tromsø, because Tromsø is basically hill. There are no trees, there is no vegetation. You just see basically snow, and then sometimes you have the view of the fjord. There you pass in the middle of a forest, so you see these beautiful trees full of snow. I must say that for this reason I think I like the sledding in the Finnish Lapland a little bit better because of the landscape, but I think the one in Tromsø was a little bit better organized because we were a bit late when we finished our turn of the sledding, and so we couldn't say hi to the dogs. We didn't really spend time with them, while at Villmark Center is really a priority that you also spend time to the dogs, cuddle them, say hi to them. That's really nice, I think, and that should be part of the experience as well. The reindeer sledding was also very different in both places. In Tromsø I did this activity one time with a lot of snow and one time with basically only slush and mud, so I will refer to the first time only. You arrive there and then there is a little briefing by the Sami, because it's normally the Sami that owns these reindeer places where you go and do the reindeer sledding. Then we went to feed the reindeer. They give you a bucket with some food inside, and then they come to you and basically they put their head in the bucket and then you feed them. Then you warm up with some warm drinks, a piece of cake. Then you do the reindeer sledding. You drive around basically this place, which is kind of a farm where they have the reindeer during winter, and then you also have lunch with reindeer soup. It's one of the best reindeer soup that I've ever eaten, and then you have coffee and cake as well. Since these reindeer farms are owned by the Sami, they will also tell you about their culture, their clothing, their way of living, and you will also get to sing their songs along with them. In the Finnish Lapland, that was a little bit different because our group was again divided into two. We warmed up a little bit inside while the first group was doing the reindeer sledding.
We also fed the reindeers, but in this case only the baby reindeers, and they were fed only with moss.
And then it was our turn, and again you pass in the middle of these beautiful woods with trees full of snow, and that I think was much better than the one in Tromsø, because in Tromsø you just basically go around this farm. I think the sledding was a lot longer in the Finnish Lapland, and for sure the panorama was much better. Then we went back inside. We had again reindeer soup, which was amazing, was really so good. I think almost better than the one in Tromsø, that was already very good. And then of course coffee and cake. The snowmobiling activity was very different in Tromsø compared to the Finnish Lapland. In Tromsø there are a lot of hills and mountains, so it was, I think, a lot more dangerous than the Finnish Lapland because the path was not easy at all. There were a lot of curves, there were a lot of up and downs. At one point we had to go up a mountain which was like this, and a lot of people struggled and started to slide back. So I didn't really enjoy the snowmobile activity in Tromsø because first of all I was with someone that I didn't know that drove all the time, and they drove quite fast, so I didn't feel really safe. I think the path was a little bit more difficult and dangerous. In the Finnish Lapland it's basically almost all flat. There was a bit of up and down, but it was like really minimum. Then we passed by a frozen lake. I think it would have been a lot more enjoyable in the Finnish Lapland if it wasn't so cold, because that day it was like -25 and it was really too cold to be on the snowmobile. For me it's difficult to compare these two activities because we didn't really enjoy the full activity in the Finnish Lapland because it was too cold, and I couldn't really enjoy the activity in Tromsø because I was with someone that was driving way too dangerously. I think I would have preferred the one in the Finnish Lapland if it hadn't been so cold. The nature related activities, it's a bit of a general category because in Tromsø we did only the minibus tour of the fjords, while in the Finnish Lapland we had 2 hikes. In Tromsø we basically drove with the minibus around the countryside of Tromsø, around the fjords. We walked on a frozen lake. We took wonderful pictures. It has been a really enjoyable activity. It was sunny and cold, and so you could see the mountains full of snow and the fjord. But then in the Finnish Lapland you had these beautiful trees. They were very different activities and it's difficult to compare them. I think the one that I enjoyed the most is the hike at the Riisintunturi National Park, because I mean the panorama was just amazing with these trees full of snow. Really a landscape that you cannot forget. Last but not least, the Northern Lights tour. It's very difficult for me to compare this tour because in Tromsø you have a lot of companies, a lot of agencies that organize this type of tour. I tried 2 agencies and I talked about it in one of my videos, so I will leave the link down below. I will leave all the links to the videos of these activities down below in the description box, so you can go and check it out. In Tromsø we did it with 2 companies. With one company I did it twice. I always saw the Northern Lights in every tour. We had snack included, we had drinks included, we had a warm place where we could warm up and then go out and try to see the Northern Lights. It has been a really enjoyable experience. Both tours that I did with Tromsø Frilufts Center were spectacular, amazing. I had so much fun. I met so many people. In the Finnish Lapland, the Northern Light tour was kind of included in the package, but it was not really a tour. In case of solar activity, we would have drove with our guide and the rest of the group somewhere where there was no light pollution, and we would have tried to see the Northern Lights. What happened is that there were activity one night that we were not really dressed nor prepared for it, so we didn't drove far and we didn't really stay out that long because we were not dressed properly and it was like -30. And the day that there was solar activity, the guide decided not to take us to see the Northern Lights or to try to see the Northern Lights because they had to prepare for the activity of the next day. We tried to go to a place with a little bit less light pollution around our cottages, around the forest over there. to see if we could see the northern lights. The problem is that the northern lights were low in the sky, and in the Finnish Lapland there are a lot of trees, and so basically we saw the northern lights but very weak and kind of behind the trees. You could see them but like not really that strong because the light pollution was also quite strong, while the people that had their cottage close to the lake and so they didn't have like trees in front of them could see really good northern lights. In this case it's a little bit difficult to compare because in Tromsø we really specifically paid for tours that would really try to make you see the northern lights, while in this case in the Finnish Lapland our guides were not really interested in having us see it, so it was kind of part of the experience but not really something organized for sure. So at the end we didn't really see very good northern lights in the Finnish Lapland. I think it's a lot easier to see them in Tromsø because you can go up the Fjellheisen and there is not much light pollution, so even if you don't book an activity you can go there and try to see them. While in the Finnish Lapland you have to drive around, you have to find a place with no light pollutions or with not so many trees in front of you in case the northern lights are quite low, and they do not organize activities where you kind of have a lavoo or a place where you can warm up every now and then go out and see the northern lights again. It's kind of just you have to stay outside the whole time and see the northern lights, and when it's like -30 that's not really that fun. That's why if you want to see the northern lights, I probably would recommend Tromsø above the Finnish Lapland. So that's my comparison between the activities in the Finnish Lapland and in Tromsø. It always depends on what you want to do, what you want to see, what is the type of experience that you want to have. You cannot really say which place is better because they are, I think, so different really. Both very beautiful in their own aspects, and I really had such a beautiful time in both places, so I cannot say which one I like the best. As always, let me know which place you choose. Let me know if you had other experiences with this tour. I'm really curious, and I think it would be beneficial to everyone else that is watching this video and reading the comment. As always, remember to give this video a thumb up, to subscribe to my channel, and see you in my next video. Bye!